All right, family. Black Power. Black Power is the truth hour with General Sabra said he kick back, get your mind ready for some information that's guaranteed to be heavy. We got a powerful one today, family. We're going to be discussing from Imhotep, the multi-genius, to Khufu, the great pharaoh that was buried in the greatest pyramid of all times, the pyramid of Khufu. We're going to look at the evolution of the true pyramid to show that it was totally an African technology developed within Africa, not by aliens, not by outsiders. It's going to be powerful. Before we get started, I want to make sure y'all get over to Patreon, over 500 exclusive live streams, all, powerful subjects, amazing information, exhilarating visuals. You want to check that out, become a patron, click the top link and join me today. Also, SETI.com official products, General SETI, t-shirts, hoodies, African Kemetic jewelry, holistic tonics and remedies. We even got the classic DVDs. Check it out. You can also become a member of the YouTube page right here, right now. Click the membership after the video. You already know we got 4 or 5 different memberships available for the family. Some of the top ones got exclusive video material. And before you get off here, make sure you get a video a thumbs up, like it because you love it, share it with your family and friends, comment. Just don't say nothing stupid because you will get banned. Believe it. So I had to redo it from yesterday, family, because I didn't realize that at the beginning of the video, it was muted. So we're gonna do this even more grander today, as we talk about from Imhotep to King Khufu. Now, as we get off into the development, we got to show improve, because a lot of people always come up with these fabricated methods and fabricated authors of the Great Pyramid. Okay, never wanting to give credit to the true originators of the science, which were African people. And here it is, even a lot of Europeans have already admitted to the fact that it's an African technology. And when we bring this up, they always want to blame it on the crazy Afrocentric scholars and so on and so forth, never mentioning the European scholars that had already mentioned these facts hundreds of years before the African scholars even got started with the scholarship, you see. But so, let's deal with, the earliest aspect of the pyramid building before they even built pyramids, which was the mastabas. And even before the mastabas, because they didn't even, the mastaba had to be developed also. Okay, let me get in here. Let me get in here. Let me see, make sure we in the house. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Matter of fact, I want it to be as big as possible. Okay, there we go. There we go. We're looking good. Now, what you looking at right there, that is a single story master. Okay. And as you can see the little man over there to the left. Matter of fact, I have my arrows. There they go right there. Let me bring them down. That way we can work out for real. So you can see that, this is really still, these are mud brick. There are some master bars that they built with stone, but this one particularly is mud brick. but yet it's still you could see. I'm gonna flip it. You could still see that this is really a large masturbah. You can see the man right there, and so you can see how large this is. Old Kingdom. And so, a lot of the nobles, and even some of the earlier pharaohs that, before the pyramid age, they were built in, pretty large mastabas like this one. And you can see at the bottom, the shafts, that they lowered a lot of the, artifacts that were left in the mastabas and even in the pyramids, because many of the pyramids got the same as far as the burial chamber and the shafts, even into the Valley of the Kings. Pretty much was like that, and they used them shafts so it was easier to slide, heavy sarcophaguses down into the burial chamber. It was much easier, and so you got to understand, even in the first dynasty, even they wasn't as large as as this, but they had a pretty decent you know what I'm saying. It's not a master bar, but it's smaller than a master bar. It's not as quite as elaborate as a master bar, but you had some form of a structure that was over it. Maybe half of what a master bar was, maybe not as high, but the inner chamber was, pretty elaborate. When you go to the the cemetery of Abydos, where the first kings and even queens were laid in the burial, the cemetery of Abydos. Some of those burials had, up to 15, 20 different rooms, chambers where they had all type of artifacts from vases, furniture, jewelry, everything that you could imagine that the king would need in the afterlife was placed down in these tombs. And these are the first kings. So, there's no other place on the planet where you can go and the very first king, they have found the burial, and it's a very elaborate burial. Okay, we'll get off into the Abydos cemetery, which is the very first royal cemetery of ancient Egypt. We'll get off into that later. But you see, so this is the first, elaborate burial structure was the mastaba. And so Imhotep came later, and he stacked these mastabas one on top of the other. Now, if you look right here, let me see. I still have my A roll. Let me see if I can get it in there. Boom. Let me get that right there. If you look right here, you can see that this is what he started out. If you see the black master bar at the bottom, you see that's what he started out with for the great Sultan Zolja, and he wanted to do something, for his king much more elaborate than the previous kings. And so he began to extend the mastaba first. He made it, longer and longer. And then he began to stack them. He said, you know what, let me go up some, and he began to stack them. And so you could see the second structure, which he took it to first. Okay, we're gonna do this again. Let me flip it. You can see the second one. You see that he took it to second phase, three master bars built over base master bar. Result was the four-step pyramid. So he originally, he had the master bar, the initial master bar platform used as a base for later structures. Then he took it to the second phase, which he built a four-step pyramid, And lastly, the final stage, he took it up to the sixth step pyramid. Okay, he took it up two more from the four to the six, and what you have today, uh, the lower master bars were widened, two more master bars constructed, and so the result was the six-step pyramid. And as you could look down at the bottom, you could see, the shaft, once containing Zosia's sarcophagus. You could see it was much like uh, the master bar, very similar, because you can see that they got the shafts that you got the shaft on a diagonal, and then you got these other shafts where you can lower things down, into the chamber, and it could slide right on down into the burial chamber. And eventually they put stone stoppers in there. That was to seal the tomb off, from grave robbers. But after a while they got very elaborate in trying to break into these tombs. And so they start building labyrinths up under these pyramids to where you had to be a hell of to know how to get in there. It's so it was, over thousands of years, people was, still able, to get into a lot of them. But finally they found one that had not been broken into, and that was King Tut's uh tomb. That was the one that they found. And it's probably many that still haven't been found and don't need to be found. They need to stay exactly where they at. And so, it is Imhotep, the master architect, builds the first skyscraper in history, you see, of stone. So this is where stone masonry, this is masonry. Masonry is stone. So when people talk about, Freemasonry and all of that, this is where true masonry started with Imhotep, with Zozier. You see, the first grand master of the craft. Okay, the first grand, and this is what they call the stairway to heaven. Okay, where the Pharaoh would ascend, step by step, the ladder, Jacob's ladder, the stairway to heaven, where the spirit would ascend step by step to become one with the Holy Father, the All Father, Osiris, and the Holy Cosmic Black Mother of creation, Aset. Okay, and so this was done in the third dynasty. This is the third dynasty, and this is mind-boggling. You see, most other cultures, when you go into the earliest part, they crawling, they like babies. You see, most of these other cultures don't start like that. They start off, and they had to gradually build up to their climax. Whereas, I mean, you talking about Egypt just took off running from the very beginning, took off running. You feel me? So this was established by the first king of the third dynasty already, the old kingdom. So this was in 2670 to 2650 BCE. Okay, so this is, and this was for King Zosier. Now this pyramid was 205 feet. Okay, this is a skyscraper. So you talking about they say 11 feet is a story. If you measure in skyscrapers, 11 feet is a story. So you talking about that this is almost a 20 story, almost a 20-story building, you know, almost a 20-story building. And so yes, this was done. Nah, ultimately, you know, the architects knew where they was going. They were trying to achieve the true pyramid, but this was the first one to get you to the true pyramid. Okay, they had this because many of the other pyramids are also step pyramids. They are also still, but they've been filled in and made into a true pyramid. And so after Imhotep and Zoser, and in the third dynasty came there were some other ones, but this one primarily came after that. And that is the pyramid of Doom. Now I saw both Saqqara. I also saw that I was directly in front of uh Saqqara. Now this one I rode by. I don't know if they have a lot of people going to this pyramid. They probably do now. But when I was going, I don't believe they had many people going over to this pyramid because I don't know if they felt it was unstable or whatnot. But this was built by the king Sneferu, who put more pyramids on the planet than any one person in history. Now, this is actually the first king of the fourth dynasty. And so you can see he's trying to fill the steps in. This is Imhotep, and you can see he's trying to fill the steps in. And actually, I believe he did fill them in, but the outer casing fell down. The outer casing fell down. So you see that they are evolving, but they having some failures. So you see the development stages here. Okay. You see the development stages here. And so this was in 2575 or 2563 BCE. Okay. Now let's be real about it. There is no Greece. There is no Rome. And really, there is no other, all that other shit is fictional. Okay. I'm just gonna be 100 with you. A lot of that other, where they talk about Mesopotamia, they talk about ancient India, and a lot of that is our people. But a lot of that has been, they have fabricated a lot of, the greatness of those areas because of the biblical origin coming up out of that area. The biblical origins coming up out of that area. And so they try to promote that as if it's the first, civilization, but they never reached these stages. Majority, if not all of the ziggurats were built out of mud. They never reached the level of stone masonry. So, they would never have had any of the skills to perfect any of this at all. It never did. They never shown any level of masonry. They built with mud brick. And that's why when you go and look at a lot of those master bars, that's exactly what they're melted down mud. Okay. They were melted down mud. And even when you look at this master bar, it was preserved better than them ziggurats. You see, if you see some stones on them ziggurats, Saddam Hussein put that stone on there. That's not how they found him. And so this is also, this is the step after Imhotep, where Sneferu come and he constructs the pyramid of Meidum, and then he comes after that one with this one, which they call the bent pyramid. And this is at Dashur. I also been to this pyramid. I've been to this pyramid 3 times. I've been to all of them 3 times. You see, and you can see that he was really trying to knock this one out the box. If he would at the inclination, if you look down at the bottom, let me see if I can put the arrow in there. Yeah, here we go. Good. You can see right there. That's 50-degree inclination. So you can see that's the degree of inclination that he was originally aiming. So he was going to try to put that up. I believe they were going to try to do I don't know. I don't know if it was going to be 340 feet the exact, but if he would have completed that pyramid, it probably would have been the second most, second behind Khufu. I believe if he would have completed this pyramid, it would have been second, only to Khufu. This would have been, and it's still massive right as right now. It is still massive right now. And so, but there was some, it began to crack. It began to crack. It was too heavy at that inclination. And so if they would have tried to go any further, it would have collapsed. So you see right there where it ended at the 54-degree inclination. At that point, they had went up 154 feet, which is 13 stories. And then beyond that point, it went to 43. It went to 43 degrees. It slanted. That's why they call it the bent pyramid. And so to the point, to the top, it was 43. And so yeah, it has some flaws in it. It's still a magnificent. It's still a magnificent structure. It was built, you talking about Sneferu was, 2575, 563 BCE. Okay, so I mean, and for anybody else in the world, they would love to have this. You see, they would love to have this structure in their land. And so, but he came back. Now, just take it in mind, he built this one, the one that made Doom, the one at Dashur, and then he completed with a magnificent, beautiful, the red pyramid. And I believe that's granite, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that's from Aswan, that red granite. And so he finally, and you could see the 43-degree inclination. He stayed with it. I believe he figured it out. He said, I'm gonna stay with that 43-degree inclination. And so you can see it's the exact same, structure that's on the top. You see is what he used, the degrees that he used on this one. And he, for the first time in history, constructed the first true pyramid. So when we are sticking to the rules of geometry, Egypt is the only nation on earth that built the true pyramid. Now you have some little smaller, little mini me's. I see the Romans tried to build, but that's a little small pyramid compared to these. You see, it was a little small pyramid, but something that somebody could easily do. But and this had a lot to do with the masonry. When people get to talking about degrees, we talking about real degrees. You feel what I'm saying? We're not talking about some speculative masonry. We talking about real masonry. And so a lot of people, this is actually the father of Khufu, who built the largest structure, the tallest structure on earth for 3,600 years. You see, 3,600, and that's right, brother. Mounds are not pyramids. But we don't want to take nothing away from our ancestors, because the Nile Valley also built mounds. Okay, they also built mounds too earlier in their development. So the mound is African technology. Okay, the mound is African technology, but they continue to develop. You see, and so that doesn't take away from the mounds, because the mounds are still a part of our religiosity. And when you understand it, it's still divine in origin. But because our people always striving, to, develop to the highest level. You see, we are, geometrically, that's what we own today. We dealing in geometry. The structures that we build today, we're still developing on that level. You see, the very instruments that the Egyptians use is still being used today in the construction or many of the skyscrapers and buildings that we have today. And so you see here, Giza, at the Giza Plateau, which you got, three of the most magnificent pyramids. Let me see if I got I didn't get all three of them, but the next time I touch down, uh I'm gonna bless y'all with the whole three. You see, but you see right here, this is so you can see from here because people can't understand. They say in 81. So he put another 100 and some, another 150 feet on there. Okay, so this is massive, but you can see that with the development, his father really set the stage. His father really set the stage because, you know, he had these are the failures. You see, his father was the one that, and so Sneferu, Imhotep, Sneferu is really the two pivotal individuals that really got our people to the level of the true pyramid, Imhotep and Sneferu. You see, the two great King Zosier. You see, I had to get and see who was the architect for Sneferu. You see, I'm gonna find that one out. But these two between Imhotep for Zosier and Pharaoh Sneferu, the two most pivotal individuals that developed, through the failures, but Imhotep didn't fail. He actually succeeded in his plan, and Sneferu had two failures. You see, two failures, but they still miraculous, even in the failings. And then he finally produced the world's first true pyramid, 344 feet. This is a 34-story building. These is in the sky. Real talk. You see, real talk. And so this was miraculous. And this was all in the old kingdom. And so 2600 BC, 2600 BC, Khufu put the largest pyramid on the planet, ever on the planet, on the Giza Plateau. And so he's the second king of the fourth dynasty. So people is saying, when they talk about the greatest dynasty in the history of Egypt, a lot of people bring up the 18th dynasty. I'm gonna have a debate on that. I'm gonna have and we're gonna vote on it. This is a hard act to follow, man. You know what I'm saying? It's a hard act to follow when you got Sneferu, you see the first king, then you got Khufu, then you got Khafra, you see, and then you got Minkara. That's a hard act to follow. That's a hard act to follow. And I will put Imhotep in there too, Zosier. You see, who was the first king of the third dynasty. Put Zosier, Sneferu, Sneferu, and there's some others in there, but the other pyramids are not is still, elaborate. They're not, these are the elaborate. Put Sneferu, Khufu, and Khafra, Menkaure. That's a hard act to follow. That's just a hard act to follow. And I believe in succession, those five kings, man, have got to be the greatest lineage, even greater than the 18th dynasty. The 18th dynasty got some elaborate things, though. I must say that. I ain't gonna lie to you. It's a hard fight. It ain't no easy walkover. When you look at what they built in that time, too, they got some like the Valley of the Kings. You feel what I'm saying? Woo, 76 tombs. Whoo. Boy, they was really off the chain with that. Then you got Abu Simbel. You got the great temple of Karnak. So I don't know. It's a heavy fight. It's a heavy fight, family, but I appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all get over there to Patreon, family. Let me get in the house. Let me get in the house. Gotta take a few questions. Yeah, I gotta take a few questions, family, if y'all got any before we get up out of here. Uh yeah. Check it out. Yeah, already. But we got some more info. We got some more files. So y'all just plug on in. We're gonna keep it moving. And we'll get back in just a second. Again, get over there to Patreon, support the general. Arm yourself with knowledge, bang on that wicked ass beast daily liberation through African education and confrontation. Boom. Black Pop.